Welcome to the Marketing Gateway. I'm Sean in St. Louis, and today we have Jaee Blue, the founder and CEO of Venture Beyond Aspirations, also known as VBA. And I met Jaee at the MDMC a few weeks ago in the Entrepreneur Alley and was just so excited about what they're doing because this is an organization, and Jae's going to talk about this, that's offering counseling to small businesses or founders or people that want to grow their business in a way that they need some advice, they need some help. Maybe they're, a little beyond what the Small Business Association can offer, or they just need somebody to kind of walk them through the steps of what they need to do. And they have this awesome framework that they're using. They have this great platform that they use that integrates both human advice and AI. And you're going to get to hear all about it in this episode. But I love this because as marketers, one of the things that we often have to do is we often have to think about, well, how do we get beyond just talking about what we do and actually make sure that people actually want to buy what we have to offer? And that's a big problem. That's something that you can't easily solve without really going through the steps. And that's one of the things that VBA really helps their clients with. So you're going to get to hear from Jaee. She is awesome. And here you go. Well, welcome to the Marketing Gateway. I'm Sean in St. Louis, and today I've got with me Jaee Blue. Now, Jaee is somebody I met a couple weeks ago at the Midwest Digital Marketing Conference. It's a mouthful, and I was very excited because Jaee was part of the Entrepreneur Alley, and of course, we already had a couple of guests on from there, and I was just excited to see you standing out in front of your stand, talking about what you're doing, and we're going to talk about some of that today. So, Jaee, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Super excited to be here.
Wonderful. Well, we always begin by having guests tell me something surprising that I don't know. It could be anything that you'd like to share, so go for it.
Yeah, so since it's Mental Health Awareness Month, something personal I like to share is that, I lost two of my childhood friends to suicide. Both of them impacted who I became in two very different ways. One taught me how to be brave in a big world, even though I was younger. And then the other taught me the importance of laughter and just smiling and always being myself. And I think experiences like that shape how you lead people, how you treat others, and most of all, how seriously you take purpose and impact in general.
I'm so sorry for the loss of your friends, but I'm so glad that you're able to take something away from the impact they left on you, because that's really great. And we've been celebrating Mental Health Awareness Month all month here at the Marketing Gateway. It's very important to us too. So thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, in this series on the Marketing Gateway, we're really focused on St. Louis area. So tell me how you came to live and work in the St. Louis area.
Yeah, so fun fact, I was actually born and raised in the St. Louis area, primarily around Florissant and Hazelwood. So this community has always been a part of my story. Actually, a lot of my entrepreneur journey and professional growth happened here as well. So just being able to now build something that supports founders in this region specifically feels like it's just very full circle for me.
That's fantastic. And what's something about the St. Louis area you wish everyone knew?
I'm going to have to say people underestimate how much talent and innovation and resilience that really exists here in St. Louis. There's a lot of founders, creatives, and just a lot of folks just building very impactful things. So I love the ecosystem here, and I just think it deserves a lot more recognition.
I totally agree. In fact, one of the things that I get the most frustrated about is not the talent well we have here. We have a ton of people that are amazing. We're just not good at talking about it.
Yes, talk about it. Yes.
That's part of what we have to do. And, that's part of why I started the show, and part of why I'm glad to have you on it, because we're going to talk about what you're doing. And what you're doing is supporting these folks that are going out and doing these amazing things and coaching them and helping them to be better at launching and starting and scaling a small business. So let me just jump right in, because like I said, we met a few months ago, or not months ago, weeks ago at the Midwest Digital Marketing Conference, and you were in the Entrepreneurs Alley, and you had this really cool service that you'd set up. And I was intrigued, so I stopped and talked to you for a little while. Tell me a little bit about how you founded Venture Beyond Aspirations, or VBA, and what you're hoping to do with it.
Yeah, of course. So VBA officially launched in 2023, but we've been doing a lot of behind the scenes way earlier. So I've been involved in entrepreneurship and business since around maybe 2018. We primarily focused on music business and creative industries, media and branding. I also worked as a television advertising account executive, which gave me some experience in just helping businesses improving visibility, customer engagement, branding, and strategy. So along the way, I just kept seeing talented founders struggle because they lack operational structure. Maybe they didn't have the systems or the guidance. So I just saw firsthand how confusing entrepreneurship can be, especially for people early on. I watched family members spend hundreds of dollars on things like an LLC, basic setups, and business services without really understanding what they actually needed. And that experience stayed with me along the way because I realized a lot of founders aren't lacking ambition, they're lacking guidance, clarity, and trustworthy operational support.
I went to business school and, got a degree in this stuff. And I still, when I got in the actual world of running a business, like I didn't know how to do a lot of things. I'm still learning in the role I'm in now. And I've been running this business for the last few years. So I think that's part of the difficulty of being a founder or being someone who has a skill and you just want to make a business out of it is that the training that's out there, it trains you to how to think maybe, but it doesn't train you how to do. And
Yeah.
so you have to learn, right?
Yes. And I get it. So when I was building like myself, I realized there's a lot of people, like you said, teaching motivation and theory, but not enough, actually helping the founders actually implement and operate. And that's actually just again where VBA came from. Today, our ecosystem is designed to help early stage service-based founders build the business side to match the skill they already have. Again, that's kind of through 4 stages: clarity, validation, foundation, and growth. And each stage focus on helping founders become more operational, stable, scalable, and very, very intentional. I'm real big on being intentional.
So you mentioned those 4 stages, and I know I talked to you about those before. So let's unpack those a little bit. So start out with clarity. So what are we thinking about at that stage?
Yes, clarity. We want to help you be clear and validate before aggressively scaling. We want to make sure you understand exactly what stage you're in, how to move on to the next stage, and actually grow.
Okay, and then the next level is what comes after that?
Foundation. So we want
Foundation.
to make sure at that point you have, well, actually before the foundation is validation.
Okay.
We want to make sure you validate what you have. So we want to make sure you're not just going around selling things and not actually validating that people actually want to buy it. I see that a lot. You think you got something, you think you got it, and then realize, oh man, I don't really have it. No one wants to buy this. This was really good in my head, but I couldn't figure out how to throw it out there or how to kind of put it all together. And then the next one's foundation. Once you got that foundation, you got people buying and people attracted and uh, a steady flow of customers. We want to make sure that you have the systems in place ready to actually handle that. Rather that's the point of sale or your CRM or how you actually gather the data. We want to make sure that's a smooth process because it's one thing to have something, someone buys it, and now you're tracking, and the next thing you know, people are like, hey, my order's coming in late. And you're like, oh, I mean, I got it. It's on my list, but you're impacting the customer experience. And it's all about making sure that foundation is right so that when you're ready for the next stage, growth, we can easily scale something like that. We get you investor ready, get you ready to get things like there's so many programs out there that give you grants and loans and accelerator programs. We want to make sure that you're ready for that type of growth and ready to scale.
Absolutely. And One of the things that a lot of early stage founders kind of have a problem with is that because they don't know, they haven't done this before, they make a lot of
Yes.
mistakes. And mistakes are good because they teach you things, right? But there are mistakes that can also be really catastrophic, that can really harm your business for the long term. So, what's one mistake that you see early stage founders consistently make when they're trying to grow their business?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, one of the biggest mistakes I see is founders trying to scale visibly before building operational structure. Now, let me kind of break down what that means. They focus heavily on getting clients or marketing harder, but behind the scenes, there's no onboarding system, no communication structure, workflow consistency, or an operational foundation. Growth without infrastructure usually creates chaos. So a lot of businesses don't fail because the idea was bad. They fail because the systems behind the business couldn't support the growth. And that's the biggest thing that I kind of see.
Yeah, even a business like mine, I've been doing this for 17 years. The business has been around for 43. I'm sorry to say we don't have a good onboarding system right now. It's too personal. It's related to what the principal's doing. We should be better at that. We don't have a good CRM system in place. We've tried. It was hard to put in, and we got busy with other things. We need to get that in place. And there's a lot of things that even if you've been doing this for a long time, like you should be doing them.
Yes.
But you're not because you're busy. You're trying to serve the clients or the customers, and in my case, it's clients. And you're so focused on that, and you're so focused on just trying to grow that part of the business that you don't think about. I have to make it easier for the customers to actually be able to interface with us. And so I love what you're saying because I think it's something that I can feel so much in terms of the kind of work that I do, let alone when I've worked in retail or other types of management that I've been in. It's hard sometimes to put those things in place before you try to get off running with the thing you want to do.
Of course. A lot of people really just don't think about it. Like you said, you're busy trying to run a company. Um, and you're not really thinking about all of the extra pieces, the moving pieces that come with that. But, that's where we come in and kind of help out with that.
That's fantastic. Another thing that we often hear, more on the academic side, because I teach, is that cash flows are one of those things that are really, really hard for new businesses. And I'm sure you have to counsel clients on that as well. What do you tell them about cash flows and how to be ready for shocks to the system?
I say keep a clean book of business.
Hmm.
Keep your data clean. I feel like that's the biggest thing that you can do as an entrepreneur, even if you're a medium size, small size. It's just you. If it's just you working and doing all this stuff on your own, keep your stuff in order. And a good book of business will help do that. Um, and then you don't need enterprise level systems immediately, but once the demand comes, just being consistent and make sure you got some type of structure.
Yeah, or that you're on a pathway where if you need to upgrade to enterprise level, that you're ready for it,
Yeah.
which that just means having a lot of times a good system and some discipline. I mean, it could be an Excel spreadsheet if you do it right, So,
Yes. Yes.
well, that's awesome. So, a lot of people who start businesses, they're really good at doing things. They're not as good at building them for scale. So, I always think about like somebody who really likes to cook or bake. Like they could start a restaurant or a bakery. They're good at that part. But when it comes to actually having a business where they actually have to make
Yes.
the things available, like
Yes.
they gotta make sure they have the right products. They got to make sure they're the right consistency. They got to make sure they're the right
Yes.
price. They're not good at that stuff because they're good at the skill. They're not necessarily good at the business part. So at what point should a founder focus on building systems and structure instead of just trying to get clients?
Again, that's much
Hmm.
earlier than most people think.
Hmm.
Um, I say if everything depends entirely on the founder manually doing everything, the business is not scalable yet. So you would want to start implementing systems. If you're taking the cash payments, you're doing the delivery, you're also making the product, you're also doing the cold calls, it starts to get overwhelming. That includes onboarding, communication, scheduling, workflows, customer management, operational consistency. So just making sure you're not doing everything and everything's not on you.
Yeah, and when you're a small business, it's hard to not let everything be on your shoulders because you're usually kind of resource constrained, right? You can't run out and just hire people, even if you have the money, because it's hard to find the right people to do the right jobs. And then you also have the problem where you're moving at 100 miles an hour, and so anytime you take time out to do anything different, that means you have to slow down and lose some of that momentum. So when you're counseling entrepreneurs or small businesses or founders, what are you telling them about getting those people in place to help them to do the things they need? Like, are you telling them to go out and maybe find contractors who can kind of help them in the short term, or should they scale up and have employees, or what's the right approach to that?
We always avoid telling folks to get your family members involved because that kind of causes a lot of friction. And even when you're trying to let them know, like, hey, we're running a business, you always have this feeling like, oh, this is my cousin. I don't really want to say this to them. That's the first thing we advise. We advise against, and then we advise to actually contract. And if you can't contract, we try and help them find the right people to get the job done. Um, it's not really that hard. My HR director is super good about talking to them, figuring out where they are, where they need to be, and if they're ready for that fit. If they're not ready for that fit yet, it's all about how you do your workflows and making it a little bit more easier for you. Rather that's AI, rather that's automating different systems. We try to take some of that pressure off so you can focus on growing the business.
So when you're talking to clients about marketing, because this is a marketing podcast, we talk about
Oh, yeah.
marketing all the time. So a lot of times, like you were mentioning visibility earlier,
Mm-hmm.
marketing can be very visible. Like if you're out there and you've got ads running, or if you're doing promotional products, or you're doing something where it's external communication, it does make you look like you have some kind of success going on because you're putting money out there to try to bring people in, but that can also be really self-defeating. And I've seen plenty of businesses go out there with a big marketing strategy and just fall flat on their face because it didn't bring any customers in. It spent a lot of money, but didn't get them anything in
Yep.
return. So how do you counsel them about thinking about marketing? And, is this something where they need to bring in their own people, or is it something where they need to go externally, or what kind of thought process do you recommend?
For me personally, I like to kind of go based on the business itself, and your best cheerleader are people that are already buying your product. You want to get that data from them, use them to tell your story and sell your story, um, and just making sure they use a real scenario that can actually, you know, get a return on investment. Now they also have to go in knowing. You have to test a lot of these things, and I wouldn't throw millions of dollars or thousands or even hundreds of dollars into one idea when you haven't tested A, B, C, D. We kind of just like to spread that apart so that we can test different scenarios and see which one performs the best in a shorter amount of time before we make big decisions like that.
Oh, I agree 100%. And, being a research professional, I do testing and surveys and things like that all the time. I think the biggest limitation I tend to find is that it's hard for those that, especially when they're in a newer business, to find the resources to do the testing properly. And I mean, I'm always happy to advise them. There's ways to do things cheaply. There always are, but
Yeah.
it's hard to get good, reliable data if you're not funded for it. And so, in terms of like resources or other things that you're pointing folks towards, because I know your platform, that's one of the things that you're really working to do is to give them resources. Where can they go to get market data? Where can they go to find testing that doesn't cost them an arm and a leg, but still gives them valid information?
Yeah, I would say the library. A lot of
Okay.
people don't use it, and it's free. And like, this is some free information that you can get, that you have access to. If you're a student and you're still learning and you're still trying to figure this stuff out, use the school. The
Mhm.
school has a huge database. Their library is full of information. So I would definitely go to the library, get this information, research the data. There's I mean, they have it available for you. A lot of folks don't think about that. And it's usually the first place I go. Besides your first party data and the data that you create yourself, based on your own customer base. But if you're looking for more and you're looking for what happened in the past and trying to learn from that, neighborhood library.
It's a great recommendation, Jay, because I call the reference desk sometimes. They still have a reference desk at the St. Louis Public Library, and
What?
they love to answer your questions. Like they're
Yes.
paid to do it, you know, and like
Yes.
nobody calls them. You know, they sit there a lot during the day.
Nobody.
Yeah, and it's because people don't know they're there, and so the library is actually an awesome resource. And you know, I'll tell you one thing that I used to do, and I still do occasionally, is if I have students that we have as interns or that are kind of working with us on a contract project or something, if they
Yeah.
have access to academic resources that I don't, I can always ask them to go look things up for me because some different colleges have different resources. So
Yes.
if you have interns, if you have people who are maybe finishing their MBA or anything in your organization that have access to that stuff, that could be a really, really valuable tool that you didn't even know you had, and it
Yes.
really does work.
Yes. Yes. Tap into it.
Well, another thing that I really think about with marketing is, so a lot of times when people are either starting out or when they're trying to restart a business that maybe needs to grow, um, a lot of times they're kind of starting from a point of view where they don't really know their customers that well, and maybe they know a few of their best customers, but they don't really know like who out there wants to buy what I've got, or who out there is really going to be interested in what we're going to be offering. So, how can they learn more about those customers? Again, formal research is probably out of the question for them, but there's lots of other ways to do it. What are some things that you recommend?
Yeah. I say make sure the business solves a real problem and
Hmm.
creates a clear value for people. So if I want to sell popcorn, I'm just going to use popcorn as an example. And, maybe they're flavored. And I did a little research, Google, library, figured out, oh, okay, people from this age and this age love popcorn. Let me go post outside of a movie theater and just have people taste it myself and get and collect that data myself. Sometimes it's best to get your own first party data. You can tell that story. You can figure out, hey, I'm just, even if you don't want to position yourself as the person, as the business, hey, I'm out here taking surveys for this popcorn. Can you try it and let me know what you think? What would you do to make it better? What would make you buy this popcorn? And after you kind of figure out those answers, then you can go to the table. You got some data to work with.
I love that. And, I used to be really a big proponent of what's called guerrilla marketing. Guerrilla marketing, the idea being that you're, kind of going out and using limited resources to try to find ways to reach out to people. And going out and doing primary research like that is actually a really good way to do it, because you're not only, showing people that something's coming and maybe giving them some opportunity to think about buying it, but you're also improving the product based on their feedback in a way that it will be more marketable.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how many people never do that.
I know. They never do. And to me, I say it's easy, but I try to be careful with that word. It's
Mhm.
it's something that, you know, if you look into it, it can be done. And I'm a strong believer that you can do anything you say you can do. So if you say it, you can do it.
So, popcorn is a really great example where it sounds like a really good product. People like popcorn. It is fairly cheap and easy to make, but it's high value in terms of people are willing to pay for it. But sometimes you get this idea and you take it out to the marketplace and you find out it is just not going to go anywhere. Whatever the idea was you had, people just aren't interested in paying for it. So, how do you know if your business idea is actually worth pursuing, or if it needs to be adjusted?
Yeah, I think validation matters more than perfection. Sometimes the idea itself is good, but the positioning or the audience or the pricing or the operational model just needs adjustment. So we kind of look and figure out, hey, does this solve a real problem and create a clear value for people? Um, And if you can answer that question clearly, then why not? Let's go for it. And that's why our first stage at VBA is clarity, helping
Mhm.
founders validate direction before aggressively scaling things.
Yeah, and so when you're going through that clarity process, I know one of the things you and I talked about was you have some folks that are doing counseling, including yourself, but you also have some AI applications that you're working with your platform that can also help kind of do some of that heavy lifting. So what are you doing in terms of helping people with that clarity? Like what exercises do you make them do, or what do you have them input in order to be able to get something that really drives them to that point?
Yes. So we figure out the problem they're trying to solve,
Hmm.
and then we figure out what that customer looks like. So once you figure out the problem, we want to get really detailed on who that customer is. And I'm talking about if it's a woman, if it's a man, does he like watching sports? Does she like wearing purses? Where does she shop and where does she get these purses from? How much does she spend a year? How much does she make a year? What is her favorite drink? And we're trying to figure out your to the T what that customer looks like. So getting really clear on what the problem is, how you're solving it, and what that ideal customer looks like.
I love that. In corporate marketing, a lot of times you'll hear about brand personas or, a customer segment personas. And that's essentially what you're recommending is understand that person down to the deepest level of what's driving them, what's motivating them, what's really making them interested in a product like yours. And if you can get to that level, you can really begin to isolate the right group of people that you want to market towards and make your marketing a lot more effective. And that way, even if you have a small
Yes.
spend, it's going to go a lot further because you're talking to the right people.
Yes. Yeah, you're like earlier how we were talking about people wasting thousands or hundreds of dollars on marketing. That's one thing that they can do. Really focus in on who that target market is.
So true. Well, we're going to talk about VBA in a minute because I always let you plug something at the end. But tell me just a little bit about the nuts and bolts of how your platform works before we get to that. Because I'd like to just know because, hey, you know what? Like I said, I've got a small business that I might want to grow at some point too. So how does your platform work and how do your clients tend to interface with you on it?
Yes. So the first thing, when first you enter the platform, the first thing you have to do is take a stage assessment. That kind of lets us know, that lets our system know that we built to kind of be there for you along with our reps, where you are in which stage that you're in. We ask that you answer the questions. It's about 14 questions, and you answer them honestly. The more accurate you are with your questions, the more accurate we can be with the stage that we're placing you in. And then we can come up with a detailed plan to figure out what's next. What's next for you? What's next for your plan? What's next for your business? After we decide what's next, we then sign you up. It's $59 a month. You get 2 sessions within this month, and there's really accountability sessions. We're making sure, hey, we had our first meeting. We know what we need to do. This is the first step. This is the resource for that step. If there's something else that you need that you can't get in contact with, we will hunt that person down and figure it out for you. And making sure that when you show up to these sessions, you're ready. You have the information you need to help us move you forward, and we're good to go. So we're always just looking at ways to move you through or to the next stage, and whatever that is, we want to grow with you.
That's great. I'm sure there's people in our audience that are either they're going solo or they're thinking about going solo. Like marketers, like, you work for a little while, you love to get out there and work for the big jobs, but then eventually you kind of realize that the money isn't actually going out on your own. And
Yeah.
I've talked to a number of people that have been in that position, but the problem is that your business only lasts as long as your contacts last. And once your contacts in industry go, you've got to start finding new ways to position yourself. So I just want to mention to any marketers listening, like if you're thinking about going solo, this is a great way to get some counseling to make sure you're not stuck in that position when your contacts all move on to other jobs. But
Yeah.
when you're talking to folks like that who are they're smart, they're seasoned, they're experienced, but they've never run a business before, counseling is so helpful because you can help point them in the right direction. Is there anything that you have to tell them in terms of Here's where you really need to be building now for later so that you can be well positioned for the future?
Yeah, I think that depends on the business, what they're trying to
Mhm.
do. If in general, I would always say figure out where you are now and have a clear understanding of where you want to go. And if you don't know where you want to go next and you're just living in the now, I would say take that assessment, figure out, and that assessment helps you as well. Honestly, take it. I always have to say honestly, because the human ego side always wants to say, "Oh, I'm here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that." But be real with yourself when you're taking the assessment, and I feel like we can place you in the right spot and make sure you have the resources you need for the stage that you're at based on your situation.
And there's a lot of folks that are just turning to ChatGPT or Claude or other platforms like that right now and doing this. And obviously, you guys have some integration to be able to do that too. But what would you say to those folks that are just turning to AI models for this? Is there value in talking to real human beings beyond that?
There's always value in talking to real human beings. I say that because I know that you notice anytime you're talking to any chat system, you'll see it always says, double check your answers. AI can make mistakes, and it lets you know that. So talking to someone who's really been in it, who has the connections, is way different than talking to a chat bot. The difference with our chat bots, we kind of train our chat agents on the knowledge that we have and how we position certain businesses. But any chat, again, it's just taking information from everywhere, anywhere it can grab, anywhere it can find. And it might not be tailored to you or tailored to exactly what you need it to be. Um, it doesn't have a master's degree. It doesn't have a bachelor's degree. It doesn't have real life experience. It doesn't know your customers. Even in AI anyway, they tell you you have to phrase questions a certain way to kind of figure out for it to spit out the right answer that you want it to spit out. But even if you're typing, you don't really know what you want or what you need. So I say always talk to a professional. There's lots of free things out there, and even our first consultation is free. We'll give you that and give you some great feedback that can at least help point you in the right direction.
I love it. You're so wise. You understand so much what small business owners really need, and I love hearing the ideas that you have because you've thought it through, and I'm really excited for anyone that is talking with you, just because I know that that kind of advice is needed when you're starting something like a business. It is just so stress inducing.
Oh yes, yes.
And I took over a seasoned business, and I have a lot more gray hair to show for it. It's one of those things where there are so many things you don't think about. I think probably the biggest surprise for me in what I took over was dealing with banks, right? So banks have a logic that is completely different from anybody else's logic in the world, and
Yep.
we had a line of credit that we had to renew because it needed to be renewed. And that meant that we had to go through and do a whole bunch of paperwork. And until then, we couldn't use our line of credit. Well, you kind of need the line of credit to be there while you're waiting to renew it. And nobody told us that. So
Yep.
you learn these lessons the hard way. And having someone that can kind of counsel you and walk you through it, I mean, it's alarming when you go through the situations, because you have to start thinking about, well, how do I make sure the lights stay on? How do I make sure
Yeah.
the people get paid for the work that they're doing? And we found a solution. Everybody finds a solution ultimately, but it is when you're in it, it's
When
really
you're in
difficult.
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, well, looking back on all the folks you've counseled, all the experience you've had, what's one decision that had the biggest impact on your business growth?
Yes. This was a good one. So one of the biggest shifts for VBA was moving from being just a service provider into a founder ecosystem. So
Hmm.
before we were, only doing websites and only doing logos and things like that. We realized founders didn't just need advice. They needed systems, infrastructure, operational support, and long-term guidance. So that shift it shifted everything. It shifted how we built. Shifted how we did our services. So instead of isolated services, we started building connected solutions that support founders throughout different stages of growth.
And it's funny because as I talk to different folks, I mean, we had Alicia Underwood on a few weeks ago, and she was talking about how she has an influencer economy platform that she's built to help influencers. Um, those ecosystems are really important, not just for the kind of services that you're offering from the service provider end, but for bringing people together and building value together, right? I mean, like
Yeah.
you're representing them and helping them, not just with a service, but with something that's really a resource and that is designed to make them more successful. And I
Yes.
think that's kind of the wave of the future, honestly. I love that you're doing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, let me ask you one more question before we get to our plug, and that is just, do you have any great stories you can tell about people that have been successful in working with VBA?
Yes, of course. I'll start with I'll give this floor to the W. Um, and that's ran by Wydonna Sumter.
Mhm.
She has a cosmetology school, and she was looking for phone systems. She was looking for a website. She was looking for a system where she can, grade students and move on to the next level. But she had no resources. She didn't know who to call. She didn't even know where to start. She had the plan, the idea for this awesome school. Um, she built everything. She had the physical place, the students, and all. Now she wanted a way to kind of keep the ecosystem friendly, meaning when a student comes, instead of filling out paperwork, they're able to go online and make payments. They're able to go to the website and see what the school offers. So we were able to build her a solution not only for the front end of the system, but also for the back end. The students see something beautiful when they go to the website, when they log in, when they want to check and see where they are with their grades, and it's custom built to her user story. I speak in a lot of technical terms, so I try and bring that back. The user story is simple, simply put, how the end user interacts with your product. Um, so we made a simple user story for her, and it's just been amazing. She loves it overall. The website's beautiful. The logo's beautiful. If you're ever in St. Louis, for all our viewers watching that's not from here, and
Hmm.
if you live here in St. Louis, I would always go there. They're off a page in Overland, Missouri. It's the W. Sumter School of Cosmetology, Barbering, Hair, Nails.
Wow. And I have to say, I love that you were able to demystify probably one of the hardest things there, which is just to talk about what was it you called it, the user
User
story.
story.
Yeah, just demystify the whole customer journey aspect into something that is easy to understand and that you can then build on. Because if you understand what the user story is, then you kind of know what kind of service you want to offer. You know what it's supposed to look like. You know when you fail, when you succeed. So many things can come out of just that simple application. I love it.
Oh yeah.
Well, Jay, it's been great talking with you. And I always give guests a chance to plug anything they want to plug. I have a feeling what you're going to want to plug is probably VBA, and please do that. But if there's anything else as well, feel free. Here's your chance. Let's go.
Awesome. So the first thing the biggest thing that I'll plug really is the VBA ecosystem overall. So everything we build is designed to support founders at different stages of growth. So we're going to start with VBA Core. VBA Core is our primary founder platform. It's focused on operational support, guidance, and business growth. And then we have Creative. Our creative piece is focused on branding, websites, and digital business identity. And then we have VBA Voice. VBA Voice focuses on business communication systems and VoIP infrastructure. If you don't know what VoIP is, it's basically a phone line for your business line. And then we have VBA Tech. Our VBA Tech supports operational systems, workflows, automation, and technology infrastructure. easily put, just to kind of, water it down a little bit. If you are emailing folks for your business at j@gmail.com and I sell popcorn, I would be j@jayspopcorn.com. Just building that brand and making that brand presence a little bit stronger, and so that a lot of folks don't think you're a scam. And then Core Scholar. That's the final thing we have, and that kind of offers centralized operations for trade schools, vocational schools, communication, student systems, and payments through one platform. So we're just doing it. At the end of the day, VBA exists because too many talented founders fell from lack of structure, not lack of talent. The talent is there. We're focused on helping founders build with structure, not just ambition.
I love it. All right. Well, Jay, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the Marketing Gateway. I appreciate you. We will, of course, put links to how people can find VBA as well as your bio in the show notes so people can check you out. And I hope many people do. I hope that folks are excited about what you shared, because you just have so many great systems in place for this. So thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you. It's been amazing.
I really want to thank Jay for being on the Marketing Gateway. It is always a pleasure to have such intelligent, wonderful, insightful guests on. And, I just so appreciate what she's doing, because she went from just offering a service to offering a resource, as I talked about in the interview. And that makes a big difference in this world. We all have to help each other. We all have to find ways to build up what we're doing. And here in St. Louis, we do have some amazing people that are doing amazing things. And when we support each other, we're able to do that much more. So that's part of why we do the Marketing Gateway. We're trying to highlight people that are out there and really doing it, and that have great stories to tell, and that can share these exciting things like she was able to talk about in this interview. So thanks again, Jay. And if you would like to be a guest on the show, I'm always happy to talk with folks that would like to be on. Please go to themarketinggateway.com, sign up to be a guest. We'd love to have you on. And in the meantime, we're going to have more interviews coming. We're going to have more of my solo episodes where we talk about marketing. And we're going to keep this train moving all summer and on into the fall, because we love doing this and we hope you enjoy it too. So thanks for listening or watching. I'm Sean in St. Louis. This has been the Marketing Gateway, and we'll see you next time.